Hey, Big Boy Chungus, I got a question for you.
What's that, Hunt?
Why is D&D considered a game for people without social lives when you have to be social to play it?
I don't know.
Hello, Thanks for going with the bit and adding so much to the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tabletop Recap episode 63. I am your host, Hunt, and we also have Big Boy Chungus here.
Hello.
Big Boy Chongus. Big Boy, give me a little.
I'm the chungiest of boys.
And today we are continuing our Descent into Avernus story, finally, with Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus Part 13. Yeah. And most importantly, the second appearance of Drizzt Grand, Drow Fighter, my character. He's a big boy. And we also have Corvus' last name. I don't know his character.
He has a full name.
I don't know it. I never hear it.
He always just calls himself Corvus, and we all just address him that way. We have it written down. We just don't use it.
He is a half-elf warlock of overpowered unearthed arcana. And we also got Maestan Balstar, Dragonborn Paladin of Bahamut, and Jajal Blacklion, who is a monk, Tabaxi, and then also Guinevere or something.
It's Guinevere with a Q-U.
What's her character's last name? That's two full names. I don't know.
Hold on.
But yeah, that's Keoket's character.
I X'd out all the full name stuff. Yeah, she has a full name. But Guinevere is.
She's a Tabaxi druid with her companion Slobber Chops, and then we also have Lulu, the little holy fant following the party around, and Corvus, whose Connor's character has an imp and a raven. You know, G plays Maestan, and D Legend plays Jadal. I didn't mention the player names when I said I'm sorry.
We went into a full detailed description of all of our players and backstories last episode. You can get caught up on there.
Yeah, we introduced a new character, so I thought let's just do a big recap of everybody. When I said that, I didn't mean give the entire history of Maestan's religion, which is something he did. That was a little much,
yeah.
But I'm also the one that didn't cut it, so. But yeah, we're jumping back in it today. Only 3 players yet again. Today we had Connor playing Corvus, we had G playing Maestan, and we had me, Hunt, playing Drizzt Grand.
It was a grand old time.
Yeah, a very short session. We have one player that likes to arrive late and one who likes to leave early. So it was very short today. But yeah, if you remember last time, they ruined Drizzt's life by roping him into this. No, you roped me into this. Well, he roped me into this. And they paid him to help them defeat a warlord, and then immediately took him to Harriman's Hill, where the right hand of Zariel tried to kill them. And he was like, oh, I hate you guys so much.
I live in hell. You would think that this would make me more tolerable to bad things.
I live in hell, and today is what ruins my life. But yeah, so then they got away from that. Lulu got taken by hell wasps to a hell wasp nest of sorts.
Which was a very pleasant experience for all involved.
We did some cool Mad Max car tricks, and we ended up there. Very cool. So I'm going to have you continue from that point onward.
Alright, so the first thing that we did was we started right where we left off. Everyone was at the base of the Wasp Nest, and it's described as looking like a massive wasp nest, like one you would see outside your home if you had an infestation, but only if the wasps were like the size of people.
And it floats, and it's held down by chains.
Yeah, it technically hovers. Angels are literally glued to the top of it. They're held down by wasp paste and regurgitation. But to keep the nest from being flown away by the angels, they have infernal iron chains holding them down to the Avernus' floor. Very disturbing image right off the bat. And the players decide, after a little bit of deliberation, how they're going to enter. which is where they will climb the chains and then walk in through the lowest entrance hole that can be seen from the floor. So they make their way in, no problem, and immediately they see inside this hive there are wasps, and they're not wasps, there are angels that have been sealed in, I don't know the scientific term for it, I just call it wasp paste, where they have either been sealed in there to be used as food for later, or as some of the players found out, as incubation chambers. Because if you know anything about wasps, they love injecting their young directly into their victims.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to investigate the angel corpses and some of the refuse in this lower level first, where they found a bunch of healing kits from other adventurers who were not so lucky to avoid the nest, and a magic wand that people assumed belonged to either a previous wizard or sorcerer. That was on the adventuring gear that was left behind, but the angels themselves had some nasty surprises, where I think the first angel that was investigated was by Corvus, who got his imp to help him out, and he had some gelatinous organs fall out of the angel after they pierced some of the weak flesh.
Yeah.
And then my stand wanted to investigate an angel.
That was the next floor.
Oh, okay, so I'll get to that one later.
Yeah, so first we had to fight a couple hell wasps.
Yeah, and no one asked if they could stealth their way through off the bat, and the module says that if no one openly is trying to stealth, then the wasps are immediately alerted to any noise that's coming from the lower level, and they were attacked by 2 hell wasps. The fight was pretty even for the most part. I thought I balanced it pretty well.
I thought we handled it, yeah.
Yeah, took a few scrapes, but hell wasps are pretty tricky. Mainly because if you allow them to overwhelm the party, they can, paralyze.
And poison.
With paralyze and poison if you aren't quick on your attacks or saving throws.
And they get 2 attacks a turn.
Yeah, they attack you with their blade-like insect legs for one attack, and then they also go in for a sting. And basically, if the whole party gets paralyzed all at the same time and there's no chance for any kind of intervention, divine or otherwise, that can be the end of the session right there. Like, everyone just gets injected with hell wasp eggs and you all die a horrible death along with the other angels.
Oof. Not cool,
but
bro.
That happened. That was a close scenario that happened later on, but we'll stay on track for right now. But you guys did get rid of the 2 wasps with only a couple of wounds, and you guys made your way up to the next level by climbing up the sticky wall. Now, the way the book describes it, there's technically not a way through these holes. It's just a hole to the next level that you have to find a creative way to get through. Most common way is to use some climbing equipment and fashion a rope ladder. But your character's perception was so good on looking for alternative ways to climb that you found some makeshift footholds and handholds that you could use to climb up as well. And after you went first, everyone kind of followed suit, except Corvus.
Corvus, ooh, that Unearthed Arcana needs to be balanced. I know everyone loves the Raven Queen, but jeez.
I'm not going to let him do an Unearthed Arcana for our next campaign, which I think is going to be Waterdeep.
So he has this ability where he can just go inside this raven that sits on his shoulder and then just fly anywhere at any time.
I think
he can do it apparently an unlimited amount of times. So to get into the Wasp Nest, my stand and I climbed up chains. He just flew up, and to each level he just flew. And he used his imp. His imp can go invisible. He used the imp to scout it. One time the imp didn't come back. Waka waka. But
he failed his stealth throw. But so we move from the bottom floor, which had a little bit of loot and a wasp encounter, to the second floor. Now, let me see. I'm checking my notes here.
I think the second floor is where my stand got mad at me.
Yeah, so there were 5 angels on the second floor that were all imprisoned, and my stand decided he wanted to check on one of the angels himself. He is a lawful good paladin who actually does worship a god who lives in Mount Celestia, so he feels an obligation to help the angels if he can.
Yeah, he probably shouldn't be lawful good, but we keep forgetting to make them see if their alignment changes when they long rest.
Yeah,
and at this point, they've long rested in hell so many times that we're just like, forget it. If we start doing it now, they're going to be like, you haven't made us do that before. So we're just forget it.
Yeah, there'll be other opportunities where their alignments can change, either through a devil contract or just making choices to make their lives easier. We'll do it that way, but we're skipping over the long rest alignment change mechanic. But my stand goes to investigate this angel that is mostly congealed in wet wasp paste, and the angel is still somewhat alive. Not in that it is healthy, but that the angel is still aware and conscious of what's going on. It can't speak, but it can make noises like labored breathing and moans of agony, and it locked eyes with my stand for a brief second and grabbed his hands as he went in to investigate it.
Yeah, without missing a beat, I was just like, pickaxe to the throat.
Yeah, and your character was like, oh, we should put it out of its misery.
I didn't say that, though. I just pickaxed an angel in the throat in front of a lawful good paladin.
Yeah, and my stand was like, can I, like, shield block that or something? And I'm like, no, he rolled too high of an attack roll. He got past you.
Yeah, I was using my lucky die, and it was on a hot streak for a while.
But that released a bunch of wasp larvae, which immediately attacked you guys. And
I dodged.
You dodged and stepped on them and got rid of them relatively easy. And one would have gotten my stand, but he was real quick to use his flame breath.
He used a nat 20. It was a nat 20.
Yeah, it was a nat 20.
Flame breath just incinerated the little boyo.
And the angel behind it.
Yeah, and then my stand was like, what are you doing? You can't just kill angels. And my guy was like, I thought you were supposed to be the good guys. Don't you know what mercy is when you see it? And then I just kind of walked away, and he didn't say anything to me after that.
I think that kind of works well to both yours and his character, because your character is more familiar with hell wasps. Even though you're not, like, intimately familiar, you do know how they would, like, behave as an animal from hell.
My character's lived there about 100 years.
And my stand's like...
So I get to roll on info for these creatures a lot.
Yeah, basically they're just animal handling or nature checks. Because that's the funny thing. Hell wasps are not technically fiends. They're not like devils or demons. They're literally animals that have just evolved to live in hell.
Yikes.
Yeah, and then my stand, he was really pissed at you because, we could have saved her. She was clearly still alive, but your character's like, no, she was dead. She didn't even know it.
Yeah, those larvae came out, and I was like, psh, vindicated.
I think the exact question I asked was, you've seen the movie Alien, right? And you're like, you mean the movie I've only seen the most of?
I was like, I've seen that movie more than most movies. It's one of my top 3 favorite films.
And so everyone, at this point, it started to drag on a little bit because everyone wanted to investigate every single individual angel.
Actually, that's not true, because in the first floor, only one person did, because my guy was like, let's get that elephant out of here so we can leave. And, G was like, oh, it's a holy thing, so we have to rescue it so fast. And then, checking the bodies was a good idea.
Yeah, it was.
There's a lot of good stuff on them.
There was.
But there was this one thing, we'd go to a floor and it'd be like, okay, we're each going to roll. There's 3 here. We're each just going to roll for one right now instead of walking around to each one and doing them one at a time. We're just all going to roll for one of them at once just to make it faster.
Well, because I didn't want us getting bogged down, especially since I had to make up for some of the stuff that I did wrong last session. And I wanted everyone to have the opportunity to search stuff, and everybody did. But I didn't want us to spend 15 minutes on a search that was not going to yield anything, because I think only 10% of these angels and searchable piles actually had anything in them. Like, I think 2 of the angels had a couple of gold pieces on them that...
One had 5, one had 10.
Yeah, and I said specifically that this is not like angel's pocket change. Like, the angel was intending on using the gold coins for some kind of, like, magical ability, but it obviously died before it got to use them or had the chance. So I didn't want us to spend 15 minutes searching, knowing as the DM that they weren't going to find anything.
Yeah.
So I just said, okay, you know what? I'm going to let you search, but we're going to streamline it. So everyone pick 1 or 2 angels that you want to search, Roll and tell me what you got, and I'll tell you if you got anything. So after that, Corvus wanted to send his imp, which was invisible, to the next floor to scope it out, and he did so no problem. But I think he rolled like a 2.
He rolled with advantage because he was invisible, and then he rolled 2 really awful things.
Yeah, and so basically I said, okay, here's what you see through your imp familiar. It's more of the same, but just as you see the angels and the hole leading up to the 3rd level, or the 4th level, I should say, you lose connection with your imp, and it doesn't come back.
Yeah, there are of course more hell wasps. This time we got up by what did we do? I tied a rope to my pickaxe and used it as a hook.
Yeah.
Is that what we did?
Yes, you did that the first time. You successfully managed to secure your pickaxe like a grappling hook, and you and my stand successfully climbed the rope to the 3rd level. Corvus just flew.
Yeah. We got up there, fought some more, almost.
This fight between these two hell wasps, same number as last time, but you guys had some garbage rolls.
Uh-huh. My lucky die was like, you know what? I'm a little tired. How about you don't roll over a 4 for a little bit?
Yeah.
Remember, I was like multiple 4s in a row. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, 4s all around, and it was just a rough time. 2 of you went down due to failed Constitution saving throws. I thought my stand, because he was the last one standing for 2 turns, I thought that he was gonna bite it, and this is where the campaign was gonna end. But thankfully, Corvus got to his feet first, and then you followed suit the following turn. So you guys managed to get on your feet, and you killed one of the wasps and sent the other one flying back through the hole on this 3rd floor.
Yeah, I was at like full health until that floor, and then I just immediately went down to like 10 so fast.
Oh, I remember what it was. Corvus had a really good plan where he after he pulled himself up from being paralyzed, he succeeded on a follow-up saving throw. He remembered that he had a spell scroll of mass healing.
Oh, yeah.
He healed himself, he healed you and my stand, and removed all status symbols or status effects for, it wasn't a lot. I think everyone got like anywhere between 7 to 11 HP back.
Yeah, I got 11 back.
But it was enough to get a little bit of breathing room.
I would have gone unconscious without that, for sure. I wouldn't have died, I would have gone unconscious.
He definitely spared the party from some more grief. So that was awesome on his part. Way to use the items he's given.
Woot woot.
Speaking of which, I'm a little disappointed because my stand and Corvus both have some magical items, and they haven't used them so far. Like, Corvus has had a wand of web since Eltruel, and he's only used it once.
Corvus has like a multiple page inventory, because today he complained about how big his multiple page inventory is.
And my stand has a circlet of blasting, which literally just allows him to cast Ray of Fire from a bangle that he wears. And he's attuned to it, he just doesn't wear it.
In fairness, it's been 5 weeks since we last played. Everyone had to get back in the groove. Even you were a little off today because you would...
I was constantly confusing the attack rolls with the damage rolls.
Yeah, you'd be like, roll to attack, I'd roll, I'd hit, and then you'd be like, okay, roll your damage, and I would. And I'd be like, okay, it's 8 damage. Oh, that doesn't hit. It's the damage, it already hit! It happened multiple times, it was ridiculous. We were rusty.
Rusty. And then, so as I said, you defeated one of the Hell Wasps, but you drove another one off, and it was wounded, and it went back to the 4th room that you guys had not seen yet. And after you beat it, you could hear what sounded like some type of audible communication between the wasps. Not talking, but you know how like bees and other similar animals will communicate with pheromones and wing pattern vibrations?
Yeah.
It was basically like some of that.
I tried to use Know Your Enemy or Know Thine Enemy or whatever it's called, but didn't work.
It was kind of... I allowed you to do like an animal handling or a nature check again. But,
which had +0 in both.
But the thing is, and the way I interpreted though that skill is that you have to be like actively able to see, hear, and understand what your enemy is trying to do.
Hey, if that's your ruling, that's fine by me.
This enemy was in a completely different room, and all you could hear was buzzing sounds that you could only make assumptions about. And I'm like, make an animal handling check, because right now it could be anything, really, if you don't know what's going on. And then, of course, the angels for that floor were searched. More larvae popped out, and a few gold coins were found. And then we finally made it to the 4th level, which is where the last of the hell wasps in that hive were located. This wasn't all the hell wasps, period. According to the book, most hell wasps are off hunting at any given time, and they leave basically a skeleton crew to guard the young and just make sure the hive is okay.
Yeah.
But you killed the last wasp, which was at full HP, and then you finished off the one that was very, very weak from the previous fight, and you rescued Lulu. And Lulu basically tells you...
No, you're skipping stuff.
Oh, yes, I forgot.
Remember...
Let me back up a little bit.
Because, so, you said this one, most of them were too high up for us to just kind of like jump or anything. We had these rope, etc. From one level to the next, up to the top level, it was only 10 feet. So I was like, hey, put me on your shoulders, big dragon boy. And he lifted me up there, and I was like, okay, I'll throw a rope down. But then I get up, and I roll perception, and I see one angel on the wall, and I see Lulu on the wall. And I was like, I look down, and I don't throw the rope down, right? And I'm like, okay, so I turn to Lulu.
It wasn't what you said, it was how you said it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so I take out my pickaxe. And I like paused, and then I was like, I turned to Lulu. And then I paused. And then I was like, and I tie a rope around the handle, and I slam it in the ground and drop the rope down. and G was like, ooh, you.
I feel like had you followed through with a very evil deed, he would not have allowed you to leave that wasp nest alive.
I tried to make them think I was going to kill Lulu. Everyone was like...
You made me think you were going to kill Lulu, and I'm the DM.
Everyone was like, oh, no.
I mean, I have a contingency plan for if at any point Lulu or another NPC dies, but I wasn't expecting her to go then and there.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta kill Lulu. Because my character would be out at that point. No way they'd travel with my dude after that.
My stand would kill you.
Yeah. So, team games. So I dropped the rope down. They come up. I go to see if the other angel's conscious, but it's more grubs that shoot out, and it's no big deal.
And Lulu is awoken. She was not hurt per se. She was unconscious while being half buried in wasp paste. And so they pull her out. She wakes up, and she tells them that, yeah, guys, I'm sorry. My memory is not what it used to be with everything that's going on. My bad with everything that went on with Harmon Hill. But I had a revelation about 2 alternative paths. And I think the way I worded it was that she passed these locations on her way from the Bleeding Citadel the first time. She doesn't know how they're connected, but she has a feeling that if we go there, we can learn how to get there as we go. And the party I was actually a little proud of them because they were skeptical.
Yeah.
They said, you've led us on a goose chase once and it almost got us killed. Why should we believe you now?
Yeah, she gave that information, and then G and I in unison went, are you sure?
But Lulu says, that's all the information I have. I don't know where else we're going to go if we don't try that. And she basically said, I know that at one location it's a place where demons are born, and I know at the other location it's a place where demons go to die. She said, you guys can choose which one you want, and I'll just do my best to support you guys. And Drizzt, what was it that Drizzt said?
Drizzt said, I don't know about you guys, but I would rather go to a place where demons are dying en masse than a place where they are being spawned en masse. And everyone was like, that makes so much sense to us.
Why would we want to go to the place where demons are being born?
Jeez.
But everyone decided that it was probably best to go back by the Wandering Emporium just to lick their wounds and get to a safe place, which was good because right as they were leaving and getting in their vehicles, they could see the rest of the Hell Wasp swarm coming back with fresh kills, and they're like, go, 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 go.
Yeah, we got back.
No.
We got back. Decided to go get the information from Mahadi, and basically the information was Archon the Cruel, who's written into the module. Like, he's actually there. This isn't our thing, but we did make it that the Abishai actually kind of like took his position, pretty much. He got demoted.
Yeah, Archon was best boy, and then here comes Sharir, the red Abishai, with the shiny axe of Tiamat's mortal enemy, and she's like, oh, that one's my new favorite. And she kind of pushed Archon aside a little bit, and that really ticked him off.
Yeah, so Archon now will be more willing to help the party because they're going after him. And that's probably the last Abishai-related clue they're going to get. Probably
until they finally figure out where he is.
Until they just fight him, which will probably be shortly before Zariel's fortress or something.
I am anticipating, nothing is set in stone at this point, but I am anticipating that the characters will either have the Sword of Zariel, or they will know the exact location of the Sword of Zariel before they go fight the Abishai.
I mean, he's a tough boy, and he has like an extra spell that Abishai usually don't have because he's got Tiamat's favor or whatever. He's got this like glowing purple Tiamat emblem on his chest.
Yeah, we're gonna explain all that when they actually do fight him because we don't want them to have any spoilers.
Well, they already know it's counterspell because he used it against them. They already know he has counterspell.
Yeah,
but only one use. Only one use.
But the full bit of information that Mahadi gave them was that this guy's basically scoping out locations for another Tiamat. Either temple or hideout, because Tiamat is in timeout, and this is not sensitive information. Everybody knows that since her last escapade, Asmodeus was like, no, you've been a bad girl, go to the timeout pit.
Hey, the first two adventures for this edition were just you escaping, so how about you just chill, alright?
Yeah. And she can't argue because while she is a god, she's very much a lesser god, and Asmodeus is literally the god of hell. Like, you don't take off Papa Asmodeus. But because Sharir has this axe for her and she wants to like corrupt it, and with this new power she wants to like use it to try and find a way to free herself from timeout. So he's kind of scouting out areas where like, okay, where can we put a Tiamat foothold? And Mahadi couldn't figure out where he was looking at because he's constantly moving around. But he says, I did find out a way for you to learn this information. I said, there's one other person who hates you, or hates the Abishai more than you do, and that's Archon the Cruel.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we just said.
And the rest we previously explained.
And then he was like, okay, gold now, please.
Which, yeah, and Maya Stan, here's the funny thing, Maya Stan could have totally walked out of there and not paid him anything because no contract was signed.
No contract was signed.
And,
but, I feel like that wouldn't have worked out too well because Mahadi's got that whole place under his thumb.
Well, legally, Mahadi could not do anything because according to, just hell, it's a lawful evil place, emphasis on law, nothing gets done without a contract. So even if Mahadi wanted to, he couldn't openly attack someone if it wasn't in writing because then he'd be in trouble. But that doesn't mean he has to do business with them ever in the future.
My guy loves his food too much to betray him. I gave him a whole soul coin for one meal. Like, jeez. My guy loves Mahadi's food.
Well,
it's the only good food he's had in 100 years, okay?
They were also kind of in the middle of packing up, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, we also decided to abandon or Connor decided to abandon the
it was his choice.
Yeah, the Warlord side quest for the magical armor.
But the guy who ran that enchantment shop, he set up a trap so that and then Connor didn't show up to spring it. So I doubt Connor will be allowed to do business with that man again.
Yeah, he's on Eliok's poop list.
Yeah, but who cares?
So after that, after Drizic's food and my stand and Corvus's little roleplay moment with Mahadi,
long rest.
They had a long rest, and they slept in their car, which is fine because everyone's packing up. They don't want to be in the way.
I just meditated up against my motorcycle.
Mm-hmm. And by the time everyone woke up, the Wandering Emporium had moved on. The only thing that was left was the indents from the tents and vehicles on the ground and tracks. Kind of like a wandering carnival kind of vibe. But after that, they said, okay, let's, Lulu, show us where this site where demons go to die is. And she's like, okay, follow me. And for a couple hours, they are just driving along, and they finally come to this area. And the way it's described in the book is that it is a 50-foot tall tower with a orb centered in what looks like insect mandibles. I think personally it looks more like Saruman's tower from Lord of the Rings.
I think that's the vibe you're supposed to get, honestly.
Except instead of a giant eye, it's this giant yellow orb that's shooting lightning at any demons that try to get close to it.
Yeah, I mean, D&D's roots are in ripping off Tolkien, so...
So what the players did is, before they approached it proper, they kind of stood back and observed a little bit, and they noticed that all these demons were attacking or trying to get close to the tower, and every time they got within about 100 to 200 yards, a giant bolt of what Corvus and Drizzt perceived to be holy lightning was striking them down and turning them to ash. And Lulu volunteered to investigate further and flew closer to the tower, and she learned that it only targets demons, like not even devils. It just targets evil demons. And so the party took that as a sign. It's probably the first sign that they've observed and actually acted on it. I keep having flashbacks to Slobber Chops in the cemetery.
Slobber Chops.
But they drive closer, and as they are getting closer, they can kind of see more details about this tower. One of which is that the giant orb is not a ball of lightning. It is, in fact, a crystal orb that holds a unicorn, which is being used as a battery to power this essentially a demon bug zapper.
Yeah.
Corvus flies up to it, and he's able to communicate with the unicorn a little bit. Didn't bother asking for a name, just started a conversation. And the unicorn says, yeah, I'm being held here, and I'm being used as a battery to power this anti-demon weapon. Zariel had me imprisoned here, and I'm nothing more than energy to her. And Corvus is like, well, can we free you? And he says, like, you could try, but my guard dog, as she said it, is not going to let you do anything to this tower or me.
Yeah.
And then he said, who's your guard dog? And then, like, the earth started shaking, and there was, like, this muddy whirlpool that formed just outside of where the characters were. And this elemental, or seemingly elemental creature in what looks like Arabian female guard and a giant war maul stands in front of them, and the unicorn's like, yeah, that's my guard dog.
You've never had a guard for a celestial powered demon zapper like me.
Yeah.
That's in the new rewrite of Aladdin, the stage musical.
And I was actually very pleased that the characters used the roleplay opportunities to also combine some skill checks, because like the character, the seemingly elemental creature first asked me, he's like, okay, who are you and what are you doing at my tower? And they're like, we're just wandering around. And she's like, you didn't answer my question. What are you doing here?
And I'm like, every time I'm like, oh, is the elephant did it? my guy is like, don't kill me, kill the elephant.
And she wasn't openly hostile with the players because the players weren't openly hostile to her or the tower.
And she doesn't want to be there anyways.
Yeah, and basically what the players learned is, first off, she is a DAO, D-A-O, which is basically an earth genie. And this genie made a deal with Zariel years and years ago to have one of her rival DAO killed. They formed a contract, Zariel did the deed, and in exchange, she had the DAO guard the demon zapper. However, she did not fully understand the print of the contract. She must have really hated this other DAO, because apparently Zariel did not put a time limit on the guard ship. She simply said, you will guard this tower until I say so, and you can leave otherwise. So she's been here, according to her, what feels like centuries, even though there's no day or night cycle, so she has no idea exactly how long. She just explains how she feels. And she asks the players, she says, like, okay, so I've told you my bit. Now, what specifically is your objective that has led you to my zapper? And they tell her that, oh yeah, we're trying to free Elchuel, and we need to remove Zara from the equation in order to do so. And she's like, so let me get this straight. You want to foil Zariel's plans and depose her from her position. And they're like, yeah, more or less. And she's like, I think we can be allies. Yeah. Which I feel was a big relief, because if you know anything about any forms of genie, they're boss levels of tough.
Uh-huh.
In fact, at one point, Connor was like, "Cool, you're friends with us, so let's destroy this tower." And she's like, "No, I can't let you do that."
And he's like, "Okay, well, you can help us fight Zariel then." "No, I'm bound by an infernal contract."
I am basically an indentured servant at this point. I don't want to be here, but I am forced to be here against my will.
Okay, well, why don't you just leave then? "I am bound." Like she
For
had
the
to
third
explain
time.
it like 3 or 4
For
times.
the third time, I am bound by a contract, and if I try to leave and violate that contract, then I get zapped by the demon zapper.
Oh man. He was like, "Why don't you just go in my bag of holding?"
And I'm like, "You do realize this Dow is like 3 times larger than you."
Also, I would have just had it so that Connor got zapped if that happened. To be honest. Jove, dead. Roll up a new one. Do it. No unearthed arcana.
So after constantly having to explain to the players why she can't leave and why she can't fight Zariel and why she can only do certain things, she basically says, "Okay, look, I've explained to you that I don't want to be here. You've explained to me what you want out of hell." And she says, "I think we can come to an agreement." She says, "I can't help you, but I do know someone who can, and I have the power to introduce you to them." And the players are like, "Okay, so what would this person do?" And I'm like, "Well, this person hates Zariel even more than I do, and if you are agreeable to them, they would be more than willing to either give you directions to wherever you need to go, give you some resources, or even point you in the right direction for whatever it is you're doing." Because the players didn't exactly mention anything about the Sword of Zariel to her. But she says, "This guy can definitely set you straight, and I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine." And immediately after I said that, favor for favor, Corvus is like, "No, we're not signing a contract." And she's like, "I don't care, because whether you help me or not, I'm still here, and you don't have help." So she didn't require them to make a contract because
There's no way they're going to get through this whole thing without signing a single contract. My guy will just have to do it, I guess. My guy will do it.
Yeah, your guy straight up signed the piece of paper with Mahadi.
I didn't even look at it.
Well, it's because your character's also already signed that piece of paper multiple times.
I am a regular. My guy has gone without fuel for his devil's ride to eat there.
Anyway, so she says, "Okay, are you?" The players ask, "Well, who is this figure that you keep referring to?" She's like, "Are you familiar with Bell?" And you already knew who Bell was.
My guy's lived there 100 years. He knows who Bell is.
Yeah.
I was like, oof.
If you don't, after 100 years, if you don't know who Bell is, then how have you survived this long in hell? Because he's got his fingers in every pie, almost literally. And my stand, because Tiamat and Bell have a somewhat shared history, he rolled a religion check that gave him basically the full story.
He rolled like a 19 or 21 or something
insane. He rolled just shy of a nat 20.
Yeah.
And Corvus was like, "I don't care enough," or something like that. I just know that he didn't roll a check.
No, what happened is my guy's jaw dropped when he heard the name Bell, and then Corvus was like, "What is it, boy? What is it? Did you hear something?"
He cared more about mocking you in roleplay than actually learning information. That was key to the story, by the way.
My guy was like, I can't tell you what he said on our PG podcast, but my guy just hates them so much. But he thinks he's going to get just eviscerated by Zariel's forces if he leaves. They're his only protection, so...
An idiot ally is still an ally. Not that Corvus is an idiot. He just acts like it sometimes.
I like Corvus. I think he's fun.
Oh yeah, no.
I like his dynamic with my stand.
Everything we have said, we say to their faces. We're not talking behind their backs. He knows we're just joking. But anyways, my stand recalls a little bit of religious information, and he knows that Bel was the very first archdevil of Avernus. Like back when hell was still young. There was Bel. And then at one point, Tiamat came to town, and she wanted power to expand her domain. And Asmodeus was like, "Okay, let's sign a deal. I'll give you more power, and you do my bidding occasionally." And Tiamat, being chaotic, tried violating that contract a few times.
Yep.
And she got spanked for it. Almost literally.
Once for each of her 5 buttholes.
Heads.
She's got 5 buttholes.
As the DM,
look it up.
No, I have.
It's lore.
No, it's not.
She has 5 buttholes, 1 for each head.
No. Anyways, moving on. So yeah, Asmodeus punished Tiamat, and so he made Bel her jailer. He's still laughing.
I'm still laughing at the Tiamat stuff. Okay, just go.
So I'm gonna back up just a second because this guy's distracting me a little bit. So Tiamat was made the ruler of Avernus after signing this contract, and Bel was basically made her handler / advisor. So basically, while Bel did not have the final say on everything that happened, he still had to keep the peace and order. And then when Tiamat started acting naughty, he then went from being her advisor to being her jailer. Which, by the way, if you're the jailer to Tiamat, you have to be tough. But now Avernus did not have a ruler, so Bel was under the assumption that, okay, I'm her jailer, yeah, but I guess he's going to need someone to fill that spot. I guess I'm the new archdevil again. And then along comes Zariel, sweet old Zariel, who's an angel. And all of a sudden, Asmodeus is like, hey, I like this lady's style. How would you like to be my new archdevil? And Bel was like, excuse?
Excuse?
Excuse me?
Excuse?
And of course, Bel being Bel and one of the first archdevils in hell, he's not going to go against his boss, but he's not happy about it. So he is still technically Tiamat's jailer, but he also pulls double duty as Zariel's advisor per Asmodeus' orders. And so he's just for hundreds of years since Zariel came to town, he's just been stewing in his own spite and rage and anger, which is why the Tao said that, yeah, he doesn't like Zariel, so he'll definitely probably be willing to help you to some degree. Plus, he's like one of the oldest devils here. He knows like all of Avernus by the back of his hand, and that kind of information will drive any other normal person insane. And so they agreed, and they said, okay, well, what do we have to do? And she says, well, I don't actually know how to free myself from the contract, because when I read it, it was not very clear and it was very cryptic. So I just wanted my rival dead. I didn't read too much into it, and I regret it now. So what I need you to do is, there is a diviner who lives in what's called the Bone Bramble Forest. Can't tell you how far away because Avernus is constantly changing, but it's east of here. You just keep driving east and you'll eventually hit it. This diviner can look up any kind of information in Avernus, some of which maybe could help you in some of your more personal stuff. And she's not going to do it for free, so here's a soul coin first and foremost. But ask her if she can figure out where and how I can undo my contract. And so she said, yeah, do that, figure out how to free me, and as soon as I'm free, I'll give you a writ of passage to Bel and his lair. Because I'm telling you right now, you're not getting in without it. Do not try and go to Bel's forge or Bel's lair and just think you can walk into his front door. It's not going to happen. So they do, and they part ways, and they eventually arrive at the Bone Brambles, and they see that it's this massive calcium bone white forest with like calcified corpses and bones that seem to be melding with the trees, and they're sucking up blood that seems to be coming from the ground itself and the other dead bodies around it. Very foreboding, and that is where we ended the session. One of our players decided that they needed to go do something important. No judgments, no concerns, we totally understand. And because the session was kind of short, we're going to pick it up next week. We're not going to take a 2-week break like we normally do. We're going to pick up like this session part 2 for next weekend.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be real Gucci gang. That'll be real swag, and that'll be real YOLO. And we did level up to level 8 after the end.
All party members involved did go up to level 8, which means Jadal, as of now, is 1 level behind everybody, and Quinevere is 2. But we do understand that we don't want our players going in under-leveled, so if and when they decide to join us again, they will get a couple of freebie levels just to make sure they're on the same page as everybody else.
Yeah, we got a 3-level rule. If you get 3 levels behind, you get 2 levels immediately.
And for some players, leveling up isn't too much of a hassle. Like, when your character leveled up, all you got was a ability score improvement, which means that you could either up some of your stats or you could take a feat.
Yeah, I took the Piercer feat.
Yeah, so now you're per our house rules. Your war pick does quadruple damage on critical hits.
Yeah, we really stacked some stuff on that.
And you min-maxer you.
No, it was an accident.
And then your bows, you get to roll 2 attack die.
Two d8s for the damage on a crit.
Yeah, 2d8s per crit. Which we do max damage anyways on crits, so that's basically double damage.
Yeah, the way you do max damage is... The way you do a rolled 20 attack is max damage. When I DM, I prefer to just add another damage die, but either way is totally fine.
Yeah, according to the actual Player's Handbook rules, you're supposed to just roll damage regularly and then double it. I personally like to do it the way Karen and Kami showed us, where we just allow max damage, because even if you make a crit roll and you double it, like let's say you roll a 3 and you have a d12 damage dice, that's only 6 damage. So I
still prefer the other way because it's got potential for higher damage, but every player I know has a different preference for that. So it's
I think it's
very
fine.
out there and different. It is fine. It's totally fine. I've never argued it. I don't care.
Yeah, you're not really doing the max damage that you could if you just rolled the extra dice, but you'll never roll below half of your total damage. So like, there's a little bit of a safety net there at the expense of not dealing more damage.
You know, I did that. I got a lot of hit points. I almost got my max increase, which is pretty cool. I was 2 shy. No, 1 shy. I was 1. I rolled a d10, got 9. So, pretty dank. But yeah, I don't know what everyone else is going to do for their level ups. I always do mine with the DM because I don't like leveling up anyways.
I will call G later and ask him what his changes are and advise him on some of the other stuff. Because Paladins and Warlocks do not get as many ability score increases as Fighters do. Fighters, I've never played a Fighter before, and up until this section, I've never looked at the Fighter subclass level up tree. And you get like 8 ability score increases over the course of your 20 level level system.
I think I'll only get 1 more before we're done. I'll probably take mobile. Who wouldn't, right? But we also got some announcements. I want to talk about new stuff we've got, for one thing. You got yourself some minis and etc. What all have you got recently since the last episode?
Recently, I have gotten a set of Eberron minis because I'm becoming more confident as a DM. And at some point, once we've gone through the pre-written stuff we've gotten, I plan on running a Eberron homebrew setting. Where it may not, I'm probably
Homebrew
not,
campaign, but Everon setting.
Yeah.
That's what Everon's for, helping you write a campaign.
And then once I'm done with the Eberron campaign, I will probably write my own I will finish my own homebrew from scratch. Still doing a little bit of light writing for that along the way. But yeah, Corvus or Connor, I think, will definitely enjoy the Eberron setting.
Eberron will be my favorite.
It's more dark and it's set in a more modern setting. Like, I've mentioned this before off recording, where like Dungeons and Dragons, it's not Middle Ages, it's more like early or late Renaissance period. Because there is some technology, like they have mechs and automatons. There's all kinds of development with magic. But Eberron really is set in more of the late...
It's kind of steampunky.
It's steampunky. Like, you actually have guns that can fire magical effects. There actually are straight-up guns in the world with gunpowder. There are...
Choo-choo trains, robots,
planes, automobiles, zeppelins. Like, there's a lot of technology integrated with the magic.
Wouldn't be an alternate technology world without zeppelins. Just ask Fringe and any sci-fi show with an alternate dimension.
Which, by the way, if it weren't for the Hindenburg, do you think we still would have zeppelins as a mode of light transportation?
Don't know, don't care. But yeah, you got a bunch of Eberron minis. They're pretty cool.
The main reason why I bought them was because of they have a bunch of player character minis that you can use, not just in Eberron, but in some of the other settings. But they also have some Eberron monsters that I will probably need later too.
But you don't have any new books, do you?
I did buy one new book, but it's not a supplement. It is a book titled "The Monsters Know What They're Doing," and it is it's a compilation of a bunch of blog posts written by a D&D enthusiast turned author. And it basically gives a bunch of segmented chapters that talk about the strategies and ideal tactics that mobs, monsters, and creatures in your D&D campaign, not just in D&D but other role-playing games in general, can use for a more lethal or effective foe.
Now, if only you knew how to read.
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
I got a bunch of stuff. So we're getting ready for our Call of Cthulhu campaign, which we're going to talk about in a sec. But I got myself some stuff for that. I got myself the Grand Grimoire and the field guide to Lovecraftian monsters. So one's basically like a bestiary, which doesn't have stat blocks. And then one is a spell book. It's got a bunch of spells. So they're nice little supplements for Call of Cthulhu. I really needed the spell book one. Because I got some spells in the later half of my campaign. I actually picked up the Cyberpunk Red starter set for Connor as a bit of a housewarming gift for when he moves. That's not... most people would have got someone a plant or a small appliance or something, but yeah, I think TTRPGs will work.
You can't roleplay with a plant, outside of theater maybe.
I've roleplayed with a plant. Wink. It was a Venus flytrap. Got that. Never mind. Let's keep it going. I'm good. So I got those books. I got that set for him. I also picked up a D100. I'm usually going to roll percentile die in Call of Cthulhu, but I picked up a cheap D100 for real, like, dramatic rolls, live or die rolls, you know?
Yeah, and for the lulls, because it's basically a sphere at this point.
It rolls. You have to roll it in a dice tray or something, or it'll just go. It'll just leave, which is fun. And I got a little baggie of D3s also. So I figure if you're the keeper for Call of Cthulhu, you should probably have some D3s. Normally we just roll a D6, and anything above 3 we subtract 3 from, and that's your number. So not everyone needs to pick up some D3s, but I thought it was a good idea. That was a weird thing about the Call of Cthulhu starter set for 7th edition. It came with a D12, even though there's no D12 in Call of Cthulhu. There's no use for one.
There's barely a use for a D20.
Yeah, so I was like, why come with a D12 and not a D3 when you need a D3 often but never need a D12? I thought it was weird. And I think I mentioned that in the review of that set that was on here a while back. But I wrote the quote-unquote mid-season finale of my Call of Cthulhu campaign. I can't write any farther until it has been played because it will change the allegiances of all the NPCs, and I can't write anything until I know where they stand. So that's on hold right now. But we kind of fused the two groups because we were going to just play Dungeons & Dragons every other week continuously and then once a month play Call of Cthulhu with two different groups. But the groups were mostly the same people. And you need a break between Avernus and Waterdeep so you can prep Waterdeep.
And because I need to prep Waterdeep, I want a break to actually play as a player.
So I was like, why not just alternate systems? Once we're done with Descend into Avernus, why not just play Call of Cthulhu 7th edition, play my rural horror campaign, and then play Waterdeep and since Waterdeep's a 1 to 5, we're going to throw some other short ones in, maybe I Am Your World or A Tale from the Yawning Portal or something.
Yeah, there's a couple of Yawning Portal tales that I think would be really fun that our group would enjoy, and they would probably take no more than 3 or 5 sessions to complete.
Yeah, so we're going to alternate systems. The D&D stories are going to go on pause, and you're going to get Call of Cthulhu ones. We're also going to do the one-shot beforehand so everyone can learn how to play and get an idea.
I think that's a good idea. That way, if anyone dies prematurely or if someone has a bad experience, it won't taint anything.
In the one-shot, you have a 50% chance of surviving it.
I like those odds.
Those odds are actually pretty good.
I mean, considering that in our last Call of Cthulhu one-off, my character 100% died the first session.
You died in the final fight, though, so... I mean, it was a one-shot.
Yeah, I remember Kami and Karen were really upset at me because after my character died, I tore his sheet up.
They don't like that. They're like, what are you doing? Don't you know you're supposed to keep those forever?
Why? I made this character on a whim. I'll make one that I care about later.
Fun stuff. But, why is your phone ringing? Get out of here. I'll close the podcast. You know that's supposed to be on silent, you big boy. But, yeah. That's it for today's episode. Next episode we get to house sit, I think. That'll be fun. Hopefully we'll get some info, see some tree boys, and then we can hopefully finish this soon. I think our group is kind of tired of Descent into Avernus. But we will be moving on very soon, and then Call of Cthulhu, my favorite TTRPG, shall play. Also, I'm trading someone for a couple Hollow Earth Expedition books, Secrets of the Surface World, and of course the core rulebook. So I have an idea for that system based on Hollow Earth Monsterverse and Waterworld. So that's it. Thank you all once again for your support, and we'll see you all next time.